June 22nd, we have the Senate File 20, our Omnibus Environmental Bill before us today. For the record, members, we do have a quorum. Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Senate File number 20 before you is the Environmental Omnibus Bill that's been agreed upon by leadership. However, it took a lot of work to get it that far, as you all know. So I believe I should probably, if you're okay, I should offer the delete all amendment before we get going, Madam Chair.
That would be fine, Senator Ingebrigtsen. You have the A21-0227 delete all amendment. Members, it has been posted. It should be in your packets. Senator Ingebrigtsen, to the amendment.
Thank you. Thank you, members. And Madam Chair, and I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as I can. There's a lot of policy in here, and obviously this is not a policy committee. There may be some policy, minor policy that's connected to finance. However, the majority of the bill, of course, this being a budget year, is for financing. I will tell you, just in general, that we had a target of $30 million. We constructed a budget that fully funds government agencies and Minnesota State Parks and Trails without increasing fees. We focused on funding existing programs, of course, targeting AIS and most recently chronic wasting disease, which has just come to the forefront here in Minnesota, more so now than it has been in the past. So we've been working with all the interested parties, trying to put together some kind of a plan as to how to deal with that moving forward. We also have flood mitigation projects included in here, money to rural septics, which is a new appropriation, which we feel real good about. That's going to be grants, actually, that are going to go out to folks who have septic systems that are compromised. There's a huge need in the state of Minnesota for that, so we think that's going to help certainly with keeping our environment clear and clean, and are at least helping to avoid more of these lakes that are becoming more impaired. And of course, our bill also includes fiscal year 2021 and 22 LCCMR bills. So the bill contains 6 articles. The last 2 articles are the LCCMR bills. The previous year and this year's bill. So we came to an agreement on that after a lot of work, and so with that, Madam Chair, if I can, I will turn the microphone over to staff, Mr. Mueller, who's going to go through the spreadsheet.
Senator Ingebrigtsen, I do believe I'd like to have a vote on the delete all amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes. Members, we're going to take a vote. Audio on, video on, please. All in favor of Senator Ingebrigtsen's motion on the delete all amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mueller.
Madam Chair, I will be going
Mr. Mueller, hold on. We're going to do one more amendment, I think, quickly, to get it all in order. Senator Ingebrigtsen, you have the A21-
Yes, I do have the A21-0233 amendment, Madam Chair.
And that is a technical amendment?
That's a technical amendment, and Mr. Mueller can describe that as well.
Mr. Mueller?
Madam Chair and members, the amendment is some technical fixes since the drafting of the DE amendment. The first line, 1.3, just clarifies the correct fund for appropriation. It's coming from the general fund and not the environmental fund. Lines 1.4 through 1.7 is this making some technical corrections to some other appropriations in the bill. Lines 1.8 through 1.17 is some new language. It's not putting in new spending in the bill. It's deleting a rider for the same amount of money, $675,000. And this is just some new language that the Board of Water and Soil Resources requested for this program. So the dollar amount is the same. Lines 1.18 through 1.25 is making some new correct language. And this comes from the DNR, the lands bill. And this is to make sure there was actually a reference to it that maybe would have made it have to go on a bonding bill. So we corrected some references within that. And then the last one, line 1.27, is deleting a section in the bill for the policy part of the green tier report. We are funding that report, and it's on the spreadsheet, and there's a rider for the funding of the report, but the policy part that was tied to that, we are deleting, but the report will still happen, it's still funded.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Any questions for Mr. Mueller or Senator Ingebrigtsen on the A21-0233 amendment? Okay. Senator Ingebrigtsen, you did move this, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
Did you make a motion?
Yes, I did make a motion.
Thank you. On Senator Ingebrigtsen's motion on the A21-0233, audio on, video on. Members, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Amendment is adopted. Thank you. Okay, to the spreadsheet, Mr. Mueller.
Yes, Madam Chair. The spreadsheet is titled Environment Natural Resources Budget. The first, let me see, 6 pages here just show the change items that are in the bill in Articles 1, and then there's also an Article 4 in the bill that deal with the conservation officer salary increase.
Mr. Mueller, can you make that bigger? Oh, it's Mr.
Oh,
Fisher,
yes,
can you make that
Mr.
bigger?
Mr. Fisher, I was going to ask if he could share the spreadsheet on the screen.
Great, thank you. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Mueller.
Madam Chair, the spreadsheet, the first 6 pages of the spreadsheet deal with Article 1, which is the majority part of the budget part of the bill, and also Article 4, which is contains the salary increase for conservation officers. Senator Ingebrigtsen talked about the target of $30 million. That was the original target going into conference committee. The working group received an extra $3.5 million of additional target to deal with the chronic wasting disease issue. So that is also covered in the spreadsheet. And then the conservation officer salary increases added another $1.59 million of general fund to the target. So there's our target is sort of 3 layers. There was the original target, the additional amount for CWD, and then an additional amount for carrying the conservation officer salary increase. Going into conference committee, the governor had a target of $43.6 million. The House was at $41.4 million general fund, and the Senate was minus 15. So there was a lot of compromising that had to happen to get to this agreement here. And also, Senator Ingebrigtsen talked about fees. Going into conference committee, the governor had about $13.5 million of new fees, and those mostly for new parks and boat fees. The House had those fees and also some aquatic invasive species fees, so they were at a little over $20 million in new fees. And the Senate basically had no fees. There's one fee item that is being carried for PCA for air permits, and that's statutory required fee that goes up each biennium. So that's the only fee increase in the bill right now. So I will start on the spreadsheet. We'll start with PCA, and I'll just point out the change items that the Senate, that were not in the Senate bill, that were accepted from the House or the administration. So PCA, general fund change items, start on page 16. There will be there is a $3 million appropriation for legal fees that goes to DNR, and $2 million of that will be transferred over to PCA, so that's line 16.
Oh, line 16.
Yeah, line
Okay, thank you.
Line 16. On line 17, the Senate accepted the various general fund operating increases for the various agencies for PCA, DNR, Bowser, and the Minnesota Zoo and the Tails. So this is on line 17 is the general fund operating adjustment for PCA, $152,000. Again, most of PCA's funding comes from the environmental fund and not the general fund, so the operating adjustment is not very high here. Line 18 is St. Louis River Mercury, TMDL. Originally in the Senate bill, this was coming from the environmental fund, but with this bill, we're paying for it out of the general fund, $350,000. This was a governor's proposal. Lines 19 and 20 are two Senate items. There's a PFAS report from Senator Weber that we carried in the Senate bill, and that was funded out of the general fund in this bill, and also the Green Tier report that I sort of mentioned in the amendment that is also funded. The last general fund item that is funded is a governor's proposal for grants to help local towns and local governments evaluate their wastewater infrastructure needs. And so that was funded at almost $2 million of general fund and a little bit of money in the tails, $250,000. Next, we go to changes from the environmental fund. On line 39 is a House proposal for, this ties to a policy in the bill that it would start banning PFAS in food packaging starting in 2025, and there's some costs associated with that, starting with $104,000 in 2023, and then it goes up to $144,000 in the tails per year, and that is out of the environmental fund. Line 48 is the air appropriation increase that I talked about is required by statute, and that does tie to a fee. Line 53, the Senate had some additional money for score grants going into conference committee, and the result was a $700,000 increase per year for score grants. This is about a 4% increase. The next two lines, line 54 and 55, is just a swap between a direct appropriation and a statutory appropriation, but it's not an increase in spending. Line 56 was a governor's item for some new equipment to help monitor air quality. And then line 58 is the governor's proposal for the operating increase for the water program, and that's funded out of the environmental fund. On the next area, it's some other funds that we made appropriations for in PCA. This bill carries some increased appropriations due to the repealing the sunset of the petrol fund, and that actually occurred in the commerce bill or maybe the energy bill. That actual repeal, like I said, was carried in a different bill, but that drives some additional appropriations here. And these appropriations are basically base appropriations that are being continued on due to that repeal. Lines 69 through 72 is some additional, this was in the governor's proposal, some additional money for the Superfund program for their record keeping and a couple additional staff people. Lines 76 through 77 is dealing with the closed landfill investment fund. And there's some new language in the bill that makes a $4.5 million statutory appropriation out of the closed landfill investment fund, but only does that for 4 years. So after 4 years, the legislature will have to work with the PCA again to reevaluate how to best use the closed landfill investment fund. And also part of that on line 76 is some additional, we're giving them an additional, it's similar to what the Senate had in its bill going out. The Senate had established an emergency fund dealing with closed landfills. This allows up to $9 million per biennium to be spent on closed landfill emergencies. And they would have to report to the legislature and on what is the emergency and how the money is being spent. So again, these two lines and these appropriations are only valid for 2 years or for 4 years, and we'll reevaluate how we spend money or appropriate money out of the closed landfill fund after that. On to the next page. It's just the revenue changes for PCA. Again, the only change is the statutory required air appropriation increase. Next, we go down to DNR, and I'll point out that the general fund total, the DNR, general fund total for DNR is $25.76 million of additional general fund money. So the vast majority of the target amount of money for general fund is going to DNR. On line 106 is their operating adjustment of almost $4 million. Line 109 is some one-time money for invasive species grants. This goes out to lake associations and local governments. Line 110 is a modified version of a governor's proposal for addressing the AIS for Red Lake. The governor had originally requested $3 million, and this is at $300,000. Line 111 is the Senate provision for the Hoffman apiaries coming out of the general fund. Line 112 is some new ongoing money for the AIS Center at the University of Minnesota, $500,000 per year, and that has tails. Lines 117 through 121 are all Senate items that were funded now out of the general fund. Some of these items going into conference committee were funded out of the LCCMR bill, but it's the Lanesboro Dam, Blue Earth Storm Sewer, Medelia Flood, Waterville Flood, and Cannon River Dam Study. Those are all funded with one-time general fund money. Line 122 is a governor's proposal to increase tree planting on state lands, and that's $2.5 million, general fund. Line 123, there's some language in both the House and the Senate bill dealing with timber permits and refunds. Originally, it was over $1 million. It was $1,075,000. The governor committed some money out of his coronavirus money and agreed to fund this at $1 million, and so the general fund portion of $75,000 is the difference of that. The next item is ash tree management on line 125. This was a House proposal to help fund communities that are dealing with the loss of ash trees, and this would help fund the replacement of that and dealing with the cost of cutting them down and getting rid of the trees. And there's some also tails to that, $400,000 per year for the tails. Line 128 was the $2 million one-time general fund for state parks. This is to help avoid the cost of a fee increase for state parks. Next new one is on line 132. This is funding the No Child Left Inside program that was started 2 years ago with one-time money. And this provides $200,000 of general fund per year, just one time for that. Line 134, we also provided some additional money for public safety response, dealing with some costs that actually occurred in the current fiscal year 21, so that's $300,000. Line 138, or I should jump back up to line 130. There's two pots of money for CWD. Line 130 is the $3.5 million that was provided to the conference committee, and this helps, or the line 130 is actually $3.5 million that deals with the wild herd. And then down on line 138 is another $3.5 million, and this is dealing with the deer farms. So we get two different appropriations. One is increased money dealing with oversight of the wild deer, and then line 138 is for oversight of the deer farms, $3.5 million, and that has a tail of $2.25 million per year. And there is some language in the bill that deals with that. So the new general fund spending for DNR is $25.76 million. Under Natural Resources Fund, there are a few changes I'll point out. The governor had a proposal that would spend more money out of the RIM account, which is the critical habitat plates. And so coming out of conference committee, and the Senate was carrying that governor's language, and so we're doing that. So there's additional spending on line 150 for that, $330,000. Line 152, $1 million out of the FMIA account for forest inventory. That was the governor's proposal. Line 156 and 157, there's some additional money balance building up in the lottery and lieu accounts. So we're able to provide some ongoing increases to both state parks and local trail grants out of the lottery in lieu account. The lottery has been doing pretty well lately and is putting additional money into the lottery account. So we're able to provide some more money out of those accounts. And they are dedicated for these parks and trails. So it's not shifting the money to any non-use or other use that isn't already there for. The rest of the items on bottom of the page here were all the ATV trails that were funded on the Senate side and the House side, so those were all the same. And on next page, we are funding the $20,000 for new signage for electric bikes in the state trail system. And this ties to some policy changes that I think happened in the transportation bill of classifying electric bikes. And this would provide money for the signage at this on state trails. And then the last item in the Natural Resources Fund is on line 170, and this is providing additional money from the lottery in lieu accounts that's dedicated for the two zoos, the Como Park Zoo and the Duluth Zoo. We'll split that $280,000 increase. Next area is the additional money out of the Game and Fish Fund, and this time we just appropriated money out of the Heritage Enhancement Account, which gets its money from the lottery. So on line 180 is a Senate provision from Senator Rude for shooting sport facility grants, $400,000. And then there's on lines 183 is some additional money for the No Child Left Inside program, $250 per year out of the Heritage Enhancement Account, one time. Line 184 is again some additional money for oversight of this is the wild deer, would be $1.5 million for overseeing the wild deer herd for CWD. And then 185 is again some money out of the Heritage Enhancement Account for the House provision for dealing with ash trees. And this is addition to what is added from the general fund. On line 192 is the additional spending that I talked about earlier about out of the RIM account. This is dealing with the critical habitat plates. The RIM account had been building up a pretty big balance because they were able to find matching funds. So the DNR had proposal to fix the way the matches were counted, enabling them to spend the money out of the RIM account. And so that amounts to about $7 million per year until they spend that money down. And the last item is a little bit of money out of the permanent school fund to speed up the land exchanges out of the Boundary Water Canoe area. So that is it for DNR. The DNR total new spending above base is $53.1 million above base, including all funds. The next part is DNR fees. The only fees here that we are showing are some small fee changes dealing with policy for allowing tribal members free access to parks, and then also a fine for people who park illegally at state parks. There's some small changes for revenues on lines 218 through 220 dealing with the lands bill, youth fishing tournaments and boat fishing tournaments. Lines 222 through 224 is the House had some language dealing with uniformity of how DUI cases are treated, and that affects a little bit of game and fish money and some natural resources money, but that's tied to a policy. And then there's some lost revenue dealing with the timber permits on lines 225 through 229. So that's it for DNR. I'll go to the last item on page 3 is Met Council Parks. There's no general fund change to Met Council Parks. That remains at a little over $5 million for the biennium, but again, some additional lottery and lieu money that is in the Met Council account. So we get able to increase that by $850,000 per year. We'll go to Metro Parks, so 1.7 million increase for the biennium. Page 4, the Conservation Corps, there's no change to their base funding of $910,000 per year general fund and $980,000 per year natural resources fund. Starting on line 276 are the change items for Board of Water and Soil Resources. The first item, 276, was a governor's proposal for soil cover crops, and that was the new rider language we saw in the technical amendment there, 675,000 per year and 203,000 in the tails. Line 277 is a water storage and treatment program. This was also in the governor's budget. The Senate had funded something somewhat similar and funded it out of the LCCMR money, but this now is being funded out of the general fund. And then line 278 is the item that's Senator Ingebrigtsen mentioned, the $1.4 million, the new general fund money for septic system replacement grants. And this is a new one-time item for $1.4 million. And then the operating adjustment for Bowser is on line 282. So total new spending for Board of Water and Soil Resources is just over $5 million general fund. And most of that is one time. The Minnesota Zoo, we are carrying an operating increase on line 300. That's actually their operations increase. Just in the tails, the governor has used some of the recovery money for the zoo for fiscal year 22 and 23 for starting up the zoo operations. And then and I think it's 10 million, or I forget exactly if it's 12
Mr.
million?
Nauman?
Yeah,
Mr.
$12
Nauman, could
million.
How much was that for the zoo?
Madam Chair, I think it was a $12 million allocation.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Thank you.
So yeah, the governor allocated $12 million of the recovery fund money to the zoo. So we did not do the operating increase in 22-23, but started that up in the tails. But we did also increase their lottery in lieu appropriation by $140,000, similar to the other zoos. For Science Museum, there's no change, but there's also, the governor has committed to advancing about $3.8 million of the recovery money for the Science Museum for revenue, lost revenue. Board of Tourism is the last agency here. They line 329, operating adjustment of almost $270,000, and then one-time $1 million for recovery grants. This was similar to a Senator Rude proposal that Senate had going into conference committee. And this would go out to local governments, and tribes would also be available for these recovery grants. The last item I will point out on page 5 is the last new general fund item. The House had a payback to the Metropolitan Landfill contingent account. In the past, about $13.9 million has been taken out of that account for various, in years where the fiscal situation of the state was in a deficit. So at that time, the Senate had taken some money out of the Metro Landfill contingent account. So the House had a proposal to pay back the account. The House was going to do it starting in fiscal year 24 at about $1.1 million per year. What we ended up in conference committee was a $100,000 annual payment back to the account. Granted, this will take, if this continues at this rate, it'll take over 100 years to fully pay it back, but this is what the House requested. So there's a payback of the Metropolitan Landfill account of $100,000 per year, and that'll be ongoing. On line 352 is the total spending across all agencies, and I will point out the one column did get squeezed there, the one that shows the dollar symbols there. The actual the spending for the bill is $1.663 billion across all agencies and all funds in fiscal year 22-23, and that's about a $100 million increase over base, which is about a 6.4% increase. Again, a lot of that was, but there's no new fees. Some of the new general fund money was trying to cover some of the same costs that the House and the governor had for fees. On lines 378 through 391 is the conservation officer salary increase. You've seen this in various bills that have come through the budget, through the Finance Committee. This is the portion that goes for DNR for conservation officers. And it's split between general fund, natural resources fund, game and fish fund, and remediation fund. So it's a total of $7.7 million over fiscal year 2021 through 23, and about 1.591 of that is general fund. And there's also tails cost of that. So that language is being carried in here, and it has the amended language, making sure it's dealing with the current settlement. So that is it for Article 1 and 4. I can jump to the LCCMR articles if you have
Mr. Mueller,
any
I do,
questions.
there's a couple questions.
Sure.
Actually, if you don't mind. I have a couple. The Science Museum and the Zoo. The Science Museum was a commitment from the governor of 3.5 million, you said, I believe?
It was, let me see, I think $3.8 million.
3.8 million, and then the zoo was 12 million.
Yes.
Is that appropriations coming from the governor's pot of money that is COVID-related, the 500 million?
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
I believe so, Madam Chair.
Okay. And the conservation officer's salary increase, that is, there's an issue with some of the police officers' salary increases, that there was a ratification from MMB, and there's a double down on, we've got an issue that perhaps they got too much money. So we're just making sure that this is the correct amount that they were supposed to get.
Madam Chair, and when we drafted this, I believe it was the language that had contained the fix that was being discussed for the other bills, so that is already incorporated in here. I hope it's the right language.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Naumann?
Mr.
Madam Chair, if I
Naumann.
might, on page 157 of the amendment, members can see an example of this, paragraph B, lines 12 through 17. And essentially, the way this is, it's a good occasion to think about it in advance of the public safety bill, where we will see this again. There's the percentage that's been allocated, and then, because we don't know what the actual contract agreement is, there is a subtraction from that, from the allocation that's made in the bill, subtracting any amount of the contract agreement. I'm not the expert in all this, but that's the language that the experts drafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair,
12
that
through
language
17.
has already been incorporated into this DE amendment,
Okay.
Yeah.
the fix. That-
Yeah. And maybe since we're talking about this, Madam Chair.
Sure. Mr. Naumann?
The Environment Bill delivers the fix on its own. The Public Safety Bill will deliver a fix for the amounts in their bill, in that bill. That bill will also deliver a fix to the contract, the law enforcement contract language for the commerce provisions, as well as the transportation provisions, because those bills have already processed.
Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Mueller? Okay, good. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll quickly go through the last parts of the spreadsheet. Pages 7 through 10 deal with the fiscal year 21 LCCMR bill. This was the bill that did not pass last year. So coming out of the working group, all the projects were restored that the Senate had originally taken out. So you can see that on the column on the right that says working group minus Senate. The Senate had removed some projects, so all the projects have been restored that were originally in the LCCMR proposal. The one new item on line 69 on page 8 is the Lawns to Legumes program is now funded fully out of the LCCMR money, or the Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund. On line 69 is part of the funding. It's $118,000 from a direct appropriation in fiscal year 21. And then starting on, if you go to page 10, there are some other cancellations of other unused money from previous Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund appropriations that we use to repurpose for some new projects. Lawns to Legumes on line 126 received another $880,000 from money that was repurposed from, there was a Sauk River Dam proposal that was $2.7 million. Pine Point Scientific Area for $380,000. And another zebra mussel control proposal for $500,000. And then some other various small balances equal $284,000. So we took all that and funded some new items. Like I said, one was Lawns and Legumes for $880,000. It was a wastewater pond proposal for PCA, $700,000. Lines, I want to note that lines 127, 128, and 129 were all new projects that were in the Senate bill going into conference committee that were not originally funded out of the LCCMR. Another proposal, $750,000 for NRRI, and a chloride reduction grant program on line 129. And then there's a new proposal that came about in discussion in the working group for looking at CWD in soils, using some LCCMR money for that. So that is the fiscal year 21 LCCMR bill. That's the one that received the most negotiations in the working group because we had a pretty big difference between the House and the Senate for that. And this is the area where we ended up funding Lawns to Legumes. Starting on page 11 of the spreadsheet, this is the fiscal year 22 Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund proposal, the current year bill. And there is no change to that. Both the House and the Senate were fully funding all the projects in that proposal. The only thing different between the House and the Senate is the House had an extra project on page 14, line 109. This is another area where we use some money that is unspent from some other appropriations, and it's transferred up to the Forest Health Research. Again, another project at NRRI for $840,000. So we appropriate $70 million, a little over $70 million, almost $71 million of fiscal year 22 trust fund money, and then the one extra project. And that is it. For the
Thank you, Mr.
spreadsheet.
Mueller. Are there any questions for Mr. Mueller or the chief author? Mr. Mueller, I do have a question for you on,
Sure.
and I'm not sure if this is either stump Mr. Nauman or stump Mr. Yu question. What is the administrative cost on LCCMR and the legacy? Is it an average, is it a flat 3%? Does it go up to 5%? What is the?
Well, Madam Chair, with LCCMR, we do appropriate money for the Legislative Coordinating Commission. I don't know if that's what you're asking, or if you're wanting to know the administrative costs when they allocate the money to the agencies.
Right.
We don't, Madam Chair and members, I don't think we set that amount. I think it's just the standard amount that they reach an agreement with the agencies and how much they are going to be allocated when they run these programs. But it's not a set amount in the bill.
Is there a range?
It's a usual, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I guess it is an
Madam Chair.
agency question. Yeah, Senator.
Madam Chair, we usually have those discussions during the appropriations when we go through the LCCMR, and we stay at a very low percentage. I mean, that's just something we've always done, similar to, I believe, Lessard Sam's. But it isn't very large. But the DNR does have to appropriate the money. I mean, it's funneled through there, so they have to have dollars to be able to do that. And that comes out of the fund as well. That's not general fund money.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mueller, and to both commissioners that are here, I'd like to thank you very much for your diligence in the appropriations of these money, that there is a time certain and a date certain on these appropriations. Really appreciate that. We struggled with another agency or commissioner on this various reasons. So I do want to thank you. That's a concern of this committee, that we make sure that we do have dates in these appropriations. So
Madam
thank
Chair.
you. Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, and I thank you for that, and I'd be remiss in not mentioning, of course, that due to COVID, I was not here for the original bill. Senator Rude actually introduced the bill on the floor, as you all probably remember. So I was home quarantining, so that's how this came forward. I wasn't there for whether there were a lot of questions or not. At that time, I don't believe there was, but she did she of course is the Environment, Natural Resources Policy Chair, and a lot of her initiatives are in here, and but I guess that's for another day. I guess when we get to the floor, if there's any questions on policy, we'll be talking about them then. But that, along with the staff, I mean, as we all know, the staff, Mr. Mueller, Ben Stanley, and of course the icon of all, Greg Knopf, who just retired.
Right.
We've actually decided we're going to give him a call at least once or twice a week for some advice. Just to take him down to a certain level, and it's not such a change for him as much, and because he's been a resource that's been unending, as you all know. If you've got any issues with environment or ag, you go to Greg. You went to Greg Knopf, and I remember, and I'm going on here, but I remember first coming here and saying, I got a good idea. I'm going to bring this forward. Greg says, it's been tried 3 times back in 1940. This is not 1940, but it had been tried here and it had been tried there, and actually it passed here, but the reason it didn't pass this time was because of this. And I'm going, my God, where's this man? That was just right off the top of his head.
Right.
And that's the kind of resource he was, and we really appreciate him. And I wasn't here to thank him the other day either. So we also have staff, of course, without my committee administrator, Megan, and without her due diligence, none of this would have obviously happened. And she's continuing to work on the bill in some angles, but as well as Will Wagner, my CLA. So I really appreciate the help from all of them. This would never happen if it wasn't for them. So thank you to all of them. And the commissioners. Commissioners have been very, very attentive, and whenever I call, they return their call. I probably don't return my call as fast as they do, actually, sometimes, but nevertheless, we do work things out in a very collegiate fashion, and we don't always agree, but at the end of the day, they always know I'm right, so that's what's so darn nice about this process. No, that's not true. But nevertheless, we have to come to a compromise, and that's what we've done, so. All right.
Well, thank you, Senator Ingebrigtsen. That institutional knowledge by Greg Knopf and his easy, steady, calming demeanor is really something. But you're surrounded, you're flanked by 2 wonderful guys, Mr. Stanley
Yes,
and Mr.
that's for
Mueller,
sure.
too. So really appreciate their work. You're not off that easy, Senator Ingebrigtsen. We have 2 more amendments that we are working on. And with that, members, we are in a recess.
Yes, we
issue?
have. And
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, the result of that, I have an amendment. I think I can go with the 20A-9 amendment.
And would you like to move that amendment?
I would like to move that amendment, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Ingebrigtsen moves the A9 amendment. Before we take a vote on that, would you like to go through that and then perhaps actually, I'll have Mr. Mueller
Or Mr. Bodden, whatever.
or Mr. Stanley. Mr. Stanley, could you please? go
Mr.
through that?
Stanley.
Madam Chair, members, before I begin going through the amendment, there is a technical change that's needed on line 5 of the amendment that if the committee's okay with incorporating, it's to change the reference from environment fund to environmental fund. So the amendment is the A9 amendment. The changes on lines 1.4 to 1.8 appropriate $500,000 in one-time money from the environmental fund to the PCA to identify potential sources of PFAS contamination. It's a one-time appropriation. And the changes in the lines 1.9 through 1.13, this clarifies that it is intentionally added PFAS that are prohibited in food packaging. And then it defines what intentionally added means. And then on the final line of the amendment, the whole section would be effective 2024 instead of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller, or Mr. Stanley.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Senator
Madam
Ingebrigtsen.
Chair, I'd certainly incorporate that change on line 1.5 into my amendment.
Thank you. I think I'd like to have the Commissioner Bishop testify first, and then we'll vote on it.
Hello.
Commissioner Bishop. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Laura Bishop, the Commissioner of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I just want to say thank you and note that we support this amendment. We appreciate working through kind of the last-minute changes that I think were important both to the agency, to Minnesotans, as well as our industry and other partners that are there that have also had input on this. So I think this is a good compromise. And I also just want to say a real thanks to Senator Ingebrigtsen for all the work on this bill. I think the result of the Omnibus bill is a good one for the environment for Minnesota. And it was not always easy to come up with our funding and allocations. And I think that he's done a real good job, and we've come up with a great bill. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that and for your work on this PFAS issue. Is there anybody else that would like to testify? No? Senator Marty.
Madam Chair, is this microphone working today? Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know after last night. I did want to ask about the intentionally added, because, I mean, I think we're concerned about no matter how it's getting there and how it's coming in. Could you speak to that briefly?
Sure.
Commissioner Bishop.
Madam Chair and Senator Marty, so when we compared this with other states, Connecticut recently passed this fairly identical language. And what we understand, PFAS is a real problem, and it's everywhere. And I think even in the uses of it, and that it can become airborne and other pieces and land in products where it wasn't intentionally added to that product. So I think what we're trying to do here is really get to that intentionally, deliberately added pieces so that it could be clear here that that is not what is necessarily being banned. And what we understand is it's things from like on, even on your cheese slices, those very thin plastics, which are a lot more sustainable than some of the hard plastics that we see, that's the type of pieces that, are needed for this type of PFAS. And so we want to make certain that we aren't, outright banning a bunch of pieces that might be necessary still.
Senator Marty?
Madam Chair, Commissioner, I'm not sure I got that right because you're saying that the real thin plastic, I'm thinking of popcorn bags and other things and so on, the real thin ones would not be intentionally added? I'm not getting that because I assume when I see intentionally added, I think, well, there happen to be some, all of us have PFAS in our bloodstream, which we didn't intentionally add, but it's a lot of places. And so I guess I'm trying to figure out what this is exempting. You're saying that the thin layer, you're not.
We're saying,
Commissioner Bishop?
yeah, Madam Chair and Senator Marty, what we're saying in this and what we've understood from talking to a lot of different partners is that, some of that, when it is intentionally added, it's to a less extent. So that's part of this. And that's how it gets with the manufacturer of the product where, they need that to be there to be able to continue those products. There is no replacement right now for that. Certainly, they're designing a lot of things and trying to create better packaging that would not have the PFAS, but there's some pieces where it has to be intentionally added to be able to continue to preserve, whether it's food or other items, that it's very thin plastics in that case. And then what we did here as well was from major corporations too that were saying, some of this can end up places and we don't want it to, if it's airborne or other pieces, that it just ends up, contaminating something. We don't want to be found liable for that either.
Senator Marty?
Madam Chair, I'm just reading it's in a prohibition. You cannot knowingly sell, offer for sale, distribute, or offer for use a package that contains PFAS, and now we're saying contains intentionally added PFAS. The way you described it was there's no alternative and that they're going to keep doing it, which they wouldn't be allowed to do here. That's what I'm puzzled by. I assume the intentionally added, and I think it is meant that if it's environmental PFAS dust or whatever that somehow contaminates something, it might show up and I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, because you confused me by what you were saying there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Bishop?
I just want to know, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Senator, and Madam Chair. I'm not trying to confuse on this, but I do think that, there are times where there are not alternatives, and then there are times right now where there are, and so this was really getting at, for purposes of this section, intentionally added means that PFAS deliberately added during the manufacture of a product where the continued presence of PFAS is desired in the final package to perform a specific function. So that's what they're trying to get at. This isn't a blanket excuse to not, have, to not ban PFAS, but it is trying to get at a very limited scope of allowing a limited scope here for a specific function.
Senator Marty, good?
Madam Chair, I think I have a problem with that. I'm not sure I'm entirely clear on it yet, but no. I guess I don't have another question about it. It just strikes me as big concern.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner
and,
Bishop.
I did talk with environmental groups as well and others that have worked on this language in the past. And, this compromise, from what I understood in talking to other partners, were also okay with this compromise. However, what I will say, and I think, and I'm asking that you adopt this amendment and support it, is, the House Chair, when he was looking at this, was looking at kind of broader at how you do get at the chemical overall. And I think at some point, that's a conversation that has to be had in packaging and food. But this is what I think, and is agreeable to all parties now. And I did talk with Representative Hansen and called him, and was comfortable with this approach as well. Now, knowing that we have to give on some of this to be able to, with both bodies, and to be able to come up with a good compromise. And I think the overall amendment is good, and the bill that we're adopting is also good.
And Commissioner, that there's other pieces in there, in this bill addressing PFAS too. This is not the only piece.
Yes, there is. And I think that top part of the appropriation from the environmental fund that helps to identify the various sources is something that we've identified in the Minnesota PFAS blueprint that was put together by the Minnesota Department of Health, the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, and PCA, and really to look at potential sources. And I think that that's going to go a long way to helping to solve these issues going forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Bishop. Okay,
Thank you.
with that, everybody, we're going to take a vote. Senator Ingebrigtsen incorporates the oral change on page 1, line 5 to environment, and to change it to environmental. Senator Ingebrigtsen moves the A9 amendment as amended. Video on, audio on, please. All those in favor of the A9 amendment, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
No.
Motion prevails. Thank you very much, Commissioner Bishop. Members, we are going to be in recess again. We have one more issue we need to work out on this bill. And so let's say 5:45. 6 o'clock. Got the look.
Madam
We are
Chair.
in, Senator Kent.
Can we please request that there be notice given when you guys see that you're
Absolutely.
getting
Thank
close
you
to
for-
doing it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to do that. With that, we are in recess till 6 o'clock.